Imagine two people walking into a bank on the same afternoon. One has never missed a payment, has no loans, avoids credit cards whenever possible, and has spent years living below their means while quietly building savings. The other carries several credit cards, has financed a car, pays off balances consistently, and regularly uses borrowed money without falling behind. Surprisingly, the second person may receive a warmer welcome from the lending system, even if the first person has accumulated more actual wealth. At first glance, this feels contradictory, and for many people it creates the impression that the credit system rewards debt rather than financial responsibility. The reality is more nuanced, and understanding that distinction reveals how modern lending systems are designed. The first misconception is that a credit score measures how financially successful someone is. It does not. A credit score is better understood as a statistical prediction of lending risk. It estimates the likelihood that a borrower will repay future debt based on patterns observed across millions of previous borrowers. From the perspective of a lender, the question is not whether someone is wealthy, but whether they are likely to make future payments on time. Those are very different questions, and the gap between them explains why so many people find the system frustrating. This difference becomes clearer when we look at what actually influences a credit score. Payment history generally carries the greatest weight because someone who has consistently paid on time has demonstrated reliability. Credit utilization also matters because someone who regularly uses only a small portion of available credit has historically been associated with lower default risk. The age of accounts contributes because a longer financial history provides more information than a brand new account. The variety of credit products, such as credit cards, mortgages, or installment loans, can also play a role by giving lenders additional evidence about how someone manages different obligations. None of these factors directly measure savings, investments, net worth, or financial independence. This creates an interesting psychological conflict. Many people naturally assume that avoiding debt entirely should produce the highest score possible. After all, if debt creates risk, then having none at all should be ideal. Yet from the perspective of a scoring model, having no borrowing history also means having very little evidence. Imagine trying to predict whether someone will finish a marathon without ever seeing them run. The absence of negative information is not automatically positive information. The model simply has less data to evaluate, so uncertainty remains higher. That uncertainty often feels unfair because our intuition associates financial discipline with avoiding unnecessary borrowing. However, the scoring model is solving a different problem. It is not rewarding debt for its own sake. Instead, it rewards the consistent demonstration that borrowed money can be managed responsibly. Borrowing becomes valuable to the system only because it generates measurable behavior that statistical models can analyze. This distinction also explains why someone with an excellent credit score can still struggle financially. A person may have perfect payment history while carrying substantial balances that reduce monthly cash flow. Another person may have modest credit history but significant savings, little financial stress, and complete freedom from debt. The credit score captures one dimension of financial behavior, while personal wealth depends on many others. Confusing these two measurements often leads people to optimize for a number instead of their broader financial goals. There is also an economic reason these systems exist. Lending involves uncertainty, and uncertainty has a cost. Without standardized ways to estimate repayment risk, banks would need far more manual investigation before approving loans. Credit scoring allows decisions to be made more consistently and often more quickly. Like any statistical model, however, it simplifies reality. Every simplification leaves out information, and those omissions become most noticeable in situations where someone's actual financial health differs from what their borrowing history suggests. The psychological effect can be surprisingly powerful. People begin checking their scores frequently, celebrating small increases and worrying about temporary declines, sometimes treating the number as a reflection of personal success. Yet a score is simply a tool built for lenders. It was never intended to become a complete measure of financial well-being. When people forget that purpose, they can unintentionally make decisions that improve the score while contributing little to long-term wealth. A healthier perspective is to treat a credit score as one financial instrument among many. Maintaining on-time payments, avoiding excessive borrowing, and using credit thoughtfully can help preserve access to favorable lending terms when borrowing is necessary. At the same time, Building savings, investing consistently, increasing income over time, and reducing unnecessary financial obligations contribute to forms of security that no credit score can fully capture.